Thanks, Rita. You're watching South East Today. Our top story tonight, the widespread disruption to train services after heavy rain causes landslips on 2 rail lines.
Again, it's just another situation that we're having to overcome to get to work, to get to our jobs.
We're live at Robertsbridge tonight to find out the latest. A jump in the number of hospital admissions linked to obesity as Brighton Council bans junk food advertising.
The dawn was breaking.
Making dreams come true, why Jason Donovan paid a visit to a Sussex woman to honour her charity work supporting thousands of children.
Comes now to Gawan. Oh, what a goal from Bibish Gawan!
And the FA Cup is back, but can Maidstone pull off a third-round shock? Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Ellie Crisell. We begin tonight with widespread disruption to train services in the southeast after that heavy rain caused landslips on 2 rail lines. Southeastern has apologised for the cancellations and diversions following incidents at Robertsbridge and Maidstone. They're just the latest in a string of problems operators have faced after flooded tracks and tunnels and staff shortages caused delays over the Christmas and New Year period. Chrissy Reedy reports.
Returning to work after the Christmas break meant rail commuters across Kent and Sussex were faced with major disruption today. Not 1, but 2 landslips. The first at Maidstone East, affecting services between Otford and Ashford, then at Robertsbridge in East Sussex, leaving no trains between Battle and Tunbridge Wells.
We're really sorry for the inconvenience that's causing our customers, and we're as frustrated as they are when there are problems caused by heavy rain, which can cause landslips, but we are working with Network Rail to get those fixed as soon as we can and get a train service back up and running.
Unreliable was how one Kent commuter described the rail service.
In the autumn you'll get leaves on the line, you'll get water problems. I mean, there was a flood on the Ebbsfleet line into the it's in Pancras this week. Lots of weather problems in the summer. We have it's too hot, or there's too much rain. I mean, whatever excuse seems to be the weather, they will shut the Maidstone East line down, and then we have no way of getting into London.
The impact of Storm Henk has been felt far and wide, with flooding affecting rail and roads. Environmental experts say we may have to get used to this level of disruption.
Our winters are getting wetter and our summers are getting drier, so we have this dichotomy. So as we go into a changing climate, and the predictions for the future are that we're going to see more of this. The summers are going to get drier, the ground will dry out. And then in the winter, it's going to get much, much wetter. So across the year, we'll probably get the same amount of rainfall, but it's going to come flashier in the winter, drier in the summer, which will cause slopes to fail more in the winter than they would in the summer.
Engineers have been on both sites throughout the day.
We know, and Network Rail knows, that unfortunately sometimes the effects of things like climate change means that sometimes there will be disruption.
So a challenging start for rail commuters, with the likelihood of further disruption throughout the weekend.
Well, Chrissy joins us now live from Robertsbridge this evening. Chrissy, there was a lot of activity behind you when we spoke at lunchtime. It's looking a lot quieter now.
Well, engineers, Ellie, have been at it at both sites. Robertsbridge, they're still going in the distance, I can hear them, and the Maidstone East line all day. The latest this evening is they're saying that at Robertsbridge, the problems hopefully, or should be, sorted by 7 o'clock. On the Maidstone East line, however, towards Ashford, now that line is still closed, and they're saying it will remain closed until the end of service this evening, or you could probably say tomorrow morning. It's weird because normally at this time of the evening there would be a lot of people coming out of that station there, off the trains, but it has been eerily quiet apart from the engineers here today. It's been pretty deserted, the car park. So it has been, I think it's fair to say, a difficult start to the new year for commuters.
Chrissy, thank you. Well, all of this follows a raft of problems for South East commuters over the Christmas and New Year period. Flooded tunnels led to disruption on South Eastern high-speed services, and crew shortages affected Thameslink trains. Only yesterday, flooding at Falmer near Brighton caused southern cancellations. It comes at a time when the two main train companies serving Kent and Sussex are paying out increasing amounts of compensation to passengers. Last year, South Eastern paid out a total of £4.8 million. That's up from £1.1 million in the previous 12 months. Govia Thameslink Railway, which runs Southern, Thameslink, Gatwick Express and also Great Northern services, they've seen their payments rise to £5.3 million, up from 1.9 million. Passengers who do claim are usually successful in around 80% of cases. But why is more compensation being paid out? Well, the government says that's down to more passengers travelling, increased awareness of being able to claim that compensation and rail performance, something commuters say must improve.
Well, unfortunately, like most of the rail network, delays are an inevitable part of my weekly scenario. I probably have suffered delays, probably a minimum of 4-5 times a week, etc. So it's something that I have to factor into my my commuting, unfortunately.
Well, under a scheme known as Delay Repay, you may be entitled to compensation each time your train is delayed. So how does it work? Well, if you're a South Eastern or a Govia Thameslink passenger and you arrive 15 minutes or more late at your destination because of a delay or a cancellation, you can claim. Claims can be made up to 28 days after that journey, but the level of compensation depends on the ticket you buy. A delay of between 15 and 29 minutes, you're likely to get 25% of the cost of a single journey back. Between half an hour and an hour, it's half the cost back, and anything over 60 minutes, it's a full refund. Industry experts say it's become easier to claim refunds with digital tickets.
Well, Delay Repay has become more popular in recent years, and it has become easier to claim it, so more people are claiming it. If you've got a digital ticket, it's easy to get it back with just one click, so more people are doing that.
Well, just before we came on air, I spoke to the travel journalist and broadcaster Simon Calder and asked him if he believes Delay Repay is widely known about.
I get the sense that even occasional travellers are finding out more and more about it, because very good train managers, the guards on board, are saying, hey, we're sorry about the delay, but you can reclaim some money back if your train's anything from 15 minutes behind schedule.
Indeed, as we've been reporting, those claims are increasing and rail companies are paying out more and more money. It seems so silly, doesn't it, that they're having to pay out these big compensations when they could be using that money to ensure that the trains run on time.
Absolutely, you've summed it up perfectly. This strange situation where actually Delay Repay is the one part of the railway which appears to work pretty well. But as a passenger and somebody like 20 million British people absolutely depends on the railways to get around. I don't have access to a car. It's my train tickets these days are more like lottery tickets. You simply don't know if and when you're going to arrive. And of course, we just have had for the last 18 months rail strikes regularly disrupting travel. There's no sign of an end to the dispute between the train drivers and the train operators. We've had flooding on an unprecedented scale. And on top of that, the usual problems with signalling, with points and so on. And it is exactly as you say, a bit of a tragedy that we're actually quite good at handing back some money, but I don't want Delay Repay ever. I want my train to be on time.
What does the future hold for rail travel, do you think?
At the moment, the rail industry is on life support, with billions of pounds of taxpayers' money being paid in to make up for the shortfall in rail revenue since COVID. That's okay if the train industry is growing, if more people are coming back to it, spending more money, particularly leisure travellers. But I'm not seeing much evidence of that because, frankly, Nobody can plan more than a couple of weeks ahead because you don't know when the next strike will be. And even if the industrial action doesn't get you, then some combination of calamities might.
Simon Calder, thank you for joining us. In other news, a driver who killed a Kent woman at Victoria Station in London by mistakenly speeding up his bus has been given an 18-month suspended prison sentence after admitting causing death by careless driving. Melissa Burr from Rainham died and another bus driver suffered a fractured eye socket in the incident in 2021. 61-year-old Lucifer Papula shunted his bus forward when he pressed the accelerator rather than the brake. A yellow warning for cold weather has been issued for this weekend, with public health officials asking us to check on people who may be vulnerable, like older residents and those with long-term health conditions. Daytime temperatures are expected to remain in low single figures, but could drop below freezing. A woman has been arrested after 2 homes in Maidstone were damaged when a car crashed into them. Police say the incident happened at Farley Hill last night when a driver failed to stop following a request from officers. Next tonight, it's emerged that tens of thousands of people in the southeast were admitted to hospital with obesity-related health problems last year. 2023 saw the highest number of obesity-linked admissions in 4 years. The latest set of figures comes after Brighton and Hove City Council announced a ban on junk food advertising in bus shelters. Fiona Irving reports.
We're one of the fattest countries in Europe, and here in the southeast, it's our health and the NHS that is bearing the burden.
Essentially, if I didn't make changes, if I didn't lose the weight, I'd be dead by the time I'm 35.
David Breaker from Medway used to weigh more than 30 stone. He's now lost half his body weight and works as a weight loss coach, trying to help ease the pressure on our health service.
The figures are showing that the NHS is just going to struggle. You know, type 2 diabetes, it costs the NHS ridiculous amounts of money each year, and it's going to get worse.
Whopper, 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 Junior, Double, Triple, Whopper.
We all know that many fast food products are bad for us, but companies that sell them also know that advertising works. Now, Brighton and Hove Council is planning to restrict the advertising of high fat, sugar and salt foods in its bus shelters in a bid to tackle the obesity problem here in the city. The council believes 1 in 3 11-year-olds leave primary school in the city overweight or obese. Across the UK, just over a quarter of adults are thought to be obese, and hospital admissions linked to obesity in Kent, Surrey and Sussex hit more than 81,000 last year, the highest for 4 years. It's hoped the ban on junk food adverts will help get those figures down.
People still have the freedom to choose, but right now, companies are free to persuade. And unfortunately, a lot of that persuasion will make us want to eat things that we don't need. And it will create heart conditions and obesity, all things which we can do without and which many of us don't want, and which puts a strain on NHS services.
So, good idea? Interfering politicians? On the streets of Hove today, they sized up the plan.
People do need to have a healthier diet, so the less we bombard them with adverts, it's got to be a good thing, hasn't it?
The reality is we're all very impressionable, especially children. And I know they always talk about the nanny state, but we've also got to think about safeguarding.
The government needs to make healthier living more affordable, opposed to cutting advertising on fast food.
Brighton's ban may be only a small help for the region's large obesity problem. Fiona Irving, BBC South East Today, Hove.
Unprecedented numbers of fallow deer on the Ashdown Forest are causing significant damage to the habitats of threatened species. That's the warning of one deer manager who says the 150 female deer that are culled each year are a fraction of what's really needed. Around 2,000 of the creatures have been recorded in the forest using thermal imaging drones, but welfare campaigners argue culling deer is cruel and instead say their food sources should be targeted. As Charlie Rose reports.
Dawn on the Ashdown Forest, and immediately we spot a herd of fallow deer. Stalker Charlie Harwood has a huge job on his hands, trying to reduce the numbers of the animals, which he says have now reached unprecedented levels.
We're estimated to have around 14.2 deer per square kilometre around the Ashdown Forest. In comparison to where we want to end up, Scotland have suggested that 5 is a healthy number to be around. So we've got 3 times, where we want to be.
Charlie is one of about a dozen independent deer managers who cull the fallow deer here. The animals were introduced 1,000 years ago by the Normans. Conservationists are now using high-tech thermal imaging cameras to monitor them, but apparently efforts to keep numbers down don't seem to be making much difference.
In the absence of natural predators and lots of food supply either on the forest or on neighbouring land, their numbers swell. If you go to any bit of woodland and you drop your head down to kind of deer head height, you'll see that there's a really strong browse line. So all the new trees that have tried to come up there get nibbled, and there's knock-ons for that then, for breeding birds, things like nightingale, which we've lost from the forest.
Tom Forward and Eka Morgan are knowledgeable about the area, having spent the past 12 months making the Ashdown Forest podcast.
What I've understood is that we have 3 times more deer than we should. And I'm a lifelong vegetarian, but I see the point of culling.
Well, this is the big fridge where Charlie stores the carcasses he collects. The forest pays him a small amount. The meat goes to supermarkets, butchers and local pubs and restaurants.
And this Michelin-starred chef says he's proud to serve wild, locally sourced venison.
This is a venison tartare with seaweed and alliums.
And eating more of it, he says, could help keep deer numbers down.
If the consumers want to buy more venison and the guys that cull the deer will be able to make more money from that practice by selling it to game suppliers, then yes, that whole cycle works much better.
But shooting the animals is very controversial, and some see culling as a cruel and ineffective way of controlling numbers.
When you kill a deer, as long as the area still remains attractive and available and reachable for the animals, the deer will continue breeding, and the new deer will take place of the deer who've just been shot. And it will just create this, perpetual circle of killing instead of really looking at the root of the problem.
The Ashdown Forest's own countryside manager agrees a dramatic increase in the deer population is affecting native wildlife and says numbers need to be sustainably managed. Critics of culling say the animals could be sterilised instead and their food sources targeted. Charlie Rose, BBC South East Today on the Ashdown Forest.
Sport now, and a big weekend of FA Cup action on the way, with Maidstone hoping to reach that 4th round for the first time since the club's reformation in 1992. James is here with all the details. Hello, James.
Hi, Ellie. Yes, it's a proper David and Goliath fixture. The Stones are 4th in the National League South. Stevenage are 3 leagues above them in League One, where they're challenging for promotion into the Championships. It's the first time that Maidstone have reached this stage of the competition since it was formed in 1992, after its predecessor went into liquidation. They're one of only 4 non-league teams left in the competition. This really is the stuff of FA Cup dreams.
This is good. Oh no, what a goal!
This was the moment Maidstone made history. A goal to remember that put League Two side Barrow out and the Stones through with a 2-1 victory. Their first that night came from Sam Corn.
The angle is tight, didn't matter.
Going in as the underdog and coming out on top in such a amazing fashion. Yes, it was amazing.
They're captained by Gavin Hoyt, who once lined up against Messi while playing for Trinidad and Tobago. But for many in this team, Saturday will be the biggest game of their careers.
It's exciting. I mean, great opportunity to play. It's a chance for us to play in front of a bigger crowd. I mean, we get quite a few, but this is going to be a sellout. Some of the boys haven't played in front of that many fans before, so it's a great opportunity for everyone.
The club has a proud history, founded more than a century ago.
Maidstone are away to First Division Watford on Saturday.
They last made the FA Cup 3rd round in the 1980s, when they were a semi-professional outfit.
Malcolm Stewart is a successful young businessman. On Saturdays, though,
he becomes a footballer for Maidstone United.
In 1990, they were playing in the Football League, but soon after faced major financial difficulties. After a painful public campaign, they went into administration in '92, then started life again the following year, and this is their best cup run since. A convincing win against Chesham in the first round set the scene for a cup campaign that's already banked them more than £100,000, and that will more than double with a win tomorrow. But it's been the experience that's been so special for the club's director.
If we were to win this game, I said I would do a back somersault off the top of the stand, so I think I'll retract that. I never thought we'd get to this stage, so there's a nice little carrot at the end of this one. But I think you have to toss that to one side.
My players have to enjoy this occasion. Some of them may never find themselves in the third round of the FA Cup ever again in their entire career. So moments like this comes once in a lifetime. After we finished our game on Monday against Tonbridge, we said it's about enjoying, the next couple of days and going into the Stevenage game, being full of confidence and just, enjoy the occasion.
It's a match they certainly enjoyed when they beat Stevenage in this same competition 9 years ago. It will be a tall order, but anything can happen in the FA Cup. Well, Brighton and Hove Albion head coach Roberto De Zerbi said his injury-hit squad are showing some of their best football again as they look at their FA Cup fixture this weekend. The heavy European schedule has seen their Premier League form dip a bit below that of last season when they also made the semi-finals of the FA Cup at Wembley. Tomorrow the Seagulls head to Championship Stoke City.
We have to be focused in counter-attack and their pressure because they are very aggressive. Play a great game. We need a great game to win the game and to play in another step.
Well, elsewhere in the FA Cup, Gillingham welcome Premier League side Sheffield United to Priestfield. So another massive game there, and Crawley travel to Bradford in League Two. Both are 3 o'clock kickoffs. So lots to look forward to there if you're going along, but none of our local teams' matches are televised. However, BBC Radio Kent will have a bumper sports show with Maidstone from 12:15 and the Gillingham game directly afterwards at 3 o'clock. Full commentary of both matches, and Radio Sussex have commentary of Stoke v Brighton, and you can find those on your local BBC radio frequencies or online on BBC Sound. So plenty to look forward to, Ellie.
Thank you very much, James. Now we end the programme with a truly inspirational story about a Sussex woman who makes dreams come true for terminally ill children. Susie Mitchell from Crowborough has helped grant more than 2,000 wishes, creating precious memories for families with her charity Taylor Made Dreams, which was set up after her son Taylor died aged just 15. You may have seen her yesterday on The One Show, being surprised with a serenade by Jason Donovan to honour her amazing charity work. Claudia Sabasis takes up the story.
Shh. Here we are in Richmond, London, where Susie is about to arrive. In the east, the dawn was breaking.
All those people that conspired against me for that. He was lovely, just how I remembered him in Neighbours.
Any dream will do.
Susie Mitchell set up the charity 10 years ago in memory of her son, Taylor.
My freshman philosophy professor assigned this exercise and called it a bucket list. We were supposed to make a list of all the things we wanted to do in our lives before we kicked the bucket.
It all began with this film. Susie and Taylor watched the bucket list together and decided to write a list for him.
Oh, he wanted to do lots of lovely things. He was very lucky to have lunch with David Beckham. He met his comedy hero, John Bishop, who's now the patron of the charity. He had a private flyover from the Red Arrows, which was really exciting, and he met all the crew. And we kind of, looked to those memories to help us through the grief.
2,000 wishes later, and Susie Mitchell has been supporting Ollie Ross's family.
So this is Ollie's room, and he wanted us to keep it as it was.
Ollie was diagnosed with cancer in 2021. He met Susie last March and she started working on his bucket list.
Ollie's a massive foodie, he was absolutely massive foodie, and Susie got hold of Heston Blumenthal. They served us the most amazing, I think it's like 12-course dinner. He loves Post Malone. And then she helped arrange for him to go and see Post Malone at the O2 when Ollie was really poorly. When your child's terminally ill, you just want to cram 80 years of life into such a short amount of time.
He was so brave right from the start. I don't know where he got his strength from, I really don't.
The charity also funds counselling and a sibling support group, something Ollie's sister Georgia now uses since his death last August.
It's been really good because I've made quite a few friends through it who've gone through like a very similar situation. Obviously it's not the same, but they understand it to an extent, which I've found really helpful, and I've made lots of friends through it. Everyone has said we are the closest siblings they know, and we've always been like that. From life to death, we've been best friends. You know, it's a huge loss and it's been a huge impact on my life.
Ollie's family are now raising funds for the charity, which hopes to open a dedicated centre in 2025. Claudia Sebezes, BBC South East Today, Ashford.
Now time for a look at that all-important weekend weather. Nina Ridge is with us, so we're going from wet to cold, essentially.
Wet but cold, but at least it's going to be dry. We're going to get a chance to dry out. Today we had a few showers around, particularly across parts of East Kent, some darker clouds there, but we're finishing the day with high pressure building. So there is a little hint of red there in the sky, and that high pressure will continue to build as we go through, not just this weekend, but into next week as well. Now I think the cloud may be a little thick at times, so there could be a little bit of patchy and light rain this weekend, but for most of us it is going to be dry. That cloud fairly stubborn, but signs through Monday and Tuesday are perhaps something a little brighter. So it's western areas where through the night tonight we've got some of the thicker clouds, so here perhaps a few of those showers around. Temperatures will dip down to lows of around 3 to 4 degrees. So a chillier start to the day tomorrow. We'll see some cloud, a little bit of brightness here and there, and as I said, for most of us it's going to be a dry day. Temperatures are on the way down. Temperatures tomorrow afternoon will reach highs of just 6 to 7 degrees. Now those showers we've got across western areas will start to fade as we go through Saturday night and in towards Sunday, and then it's actually parts of East Kent we're more likely to pick up some showers as winds start to come down from the North Sea. They just pick up a little bit of moisture, so we could see a few showers here, but it's going to be a colder start on Sunday with those temperatures sitting just above freezing. This little cluster of showers then feeds across parts of East Kent as we go through Sunday morning with a fairly thick area of cloud, but they do peter out by the afternoon, so for most it's going to be dry and we start to pick up a little more sunshine with highs of 5 to 6 degrees. The high stays with us through Monday and Tuesday, and it just starts to move its position a little bit, picking up more of an easterly breeze, some drier air, so that does mean increasing amounts of sunshine. It also means it's going to be turning colder, not just by day, but also overnight, where we'll see temperatures at around freezing. Ellie.
Next stop, snow. Thank you very much, Nina. That's it from me and Nina and the rest of the team. Charlie Rose will be back with your late news update. Bye-bye.